this is how I want you to do it. Because that's the type of player Gabe Vizel is. He has such an incredible knowledge, and he can play different roles. So exactly to your point, Tasty Bacon, he can definitely fill in the shoes for whoever he would be replacing.
All right. After that conversation, I have just been informed they're not going to be subbing after all. Everything's fine. So we are going to be jumping in.
They would have been okay.
They would have been okay. They don't need to be okay. They're going to be great instead. As we jump on into this draft, it's going to be Cloud9 going up against Tribe with Zelsia subbing in over Max Green for Tribe. That's going to be a Vox first pick after a Kestrel ban and a Catherine ban. Interesting start.
Yeah, the Kestrel ban is definitely a little bit interesting because that's not something that we've seen prioritized too much. Obviously, it is a very strong pick, and Dienzio does play it very well, but the fact that they prioritized it is a little bit strange to me.
To me, it's both about that it can be played in the jungle as a CP hero because it's very strong with the clockwork now, and it can be played in lane, and it's effective and very strong against the Vox in lane. The Vox first pick from Cloud9, they kind of have to go for these types of picks just because of old school is a hero pool. And then we see the Saw ban. I talked about Saw so much so far. I really want to see him. We're not going to be able to do this game just because of the ban. He's really strong, both weapon power and CP.
Yeah, we really should just clarify here. This is not a troll ban. They are not throwing this away.
Saw is actually very strong right now. Yeah, on the current update, Saw is incredibly effective, especially the CP Saw does so much damage, but it is going to be a Petal locked in. Now, we saw Crystal Petal earlier. We've seen Dienzio and I Love our Old School both playing a weapon Petal previously, so who knows where that one's going to go. That's a flexible pick that they have picked up to leave questions for Cloud9 to try and figure out.
Yeah, we'll most likely go to the lane just because CP Petal is not as strong because of the Frostburn changes. The weapon power in lane is still very strong. The only thing is she has a little bit of a weak early game, especially against Vox. The thing for me on Cloud9's side, they have item picks they can go for. Grace Churn Walker, we talked about how Gabe Vizel, how strong he is of a player on that captain role, and Churn Walker would be a great pick here.
And now, just to clarify and explain, we talked about the Frostburn changes. I don't think we fully explained why it's not as good on Petal anymore. We've kind of briefly touched on it. The Frostburn now only procs the slow off of ability damage. You have to deal damage with an ability, and Petal's Munions are not considered to be an ability damage. If you get them, like the Bramble Seed or the Spontaneous Combustion, that would proc the Frostburn slow, but the regular Munion damage that she does not proc the slow any longer. That's why it's not as good.
Yeah, the basic attacks from those Munions not going to activate that. The Arden locked in, so we're not going to see the Churnwalker coming out from Cloud9, unfortunately, unless that's some kind of weapon power Arden, or we see a
we could only dream.
Crazy stuff could happen, but it is just going to be a Koshka locked in.
I mean, the Arden is an extremely strong captain this update because of all the health changes, because the buff that were coming onto him in this update, and it's something that Gabe Vizel played in the past very frequently, especially with Vox. They play this composition very well, where Vox goes very aggressive, old school plays to his strength, and then the Vanguard comes, supports him, allows him to be on the front line, and then the Koshka is a common pick for Joseph to try and play aggressive. The only thing is Cruel is still open, and they could pick it up against it. They go for the Reza. This I gotta talk about this. It's such a strong pick in 2.9, both because of the buffs that happened to him, and because Aftershock is an extremely strong item right now in the game because it does a health percentage per proc when it does the ability damage. So Reza got a huge buff, and this is going to be a very strong pick if he's able to survive just a bit against the Koshka.
Also, picking up Reza into the only player that's won with Reza in the Vainglory 8 as well. So I'm excited to see how T-Tigers does with this one. How are we expecting this game to play out? Who's going to be aggressive in the early game? How's this one going to play?
Both. They're both going to be so aggressive. I mean, you have a Reza and a Koshka. Koshka obviously has a little bit more early strength. The Reza needs to get a little bit of farm before he really comes into his own with the Aftershock being completed. So I do give the early game edge to the side of Cloud9, but T-Tigers on Reza is something I'm incredibly excited to see. We always we talk about how we want to see him on playmaking heroes. Reza may be a troublemaker, but he is a playmaker as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to see how this one is going to pan out with the Reza pick going up against the Koshka. Very aggressive coming out from our jungles. Hashtag Vainglory8 on Twitter. Let us know whether you're supporting Tribe or whether you're supporting Cloud9. It's time to jump into our first game of our North American Vainglory8 split number 2 and pass it over to our casters.
Welcome to 2.9.1. It's Cloud9 versus Tribe here on the Halcyon Fold for our first Split 2 North American matchup. Dalsy here, joined by the Source to kick things off in this series.
Yeah, glad to be here. Glad to see the new CP items come in. I'm super happy to see Reza because I love Reza, and when I was getting back into Vainglory, I was spamming Reza nonstop, so fun to see him in competitive.
Oh, absolutely. One of my favorite heroes by far. Ever since his release, have really enjoyed playing him, and it's great to see him find his home. It's one of the top junglers here in Update 2.9. Means that Dienzio are going to be piloting a weapon power petal here, which is seeing so much popularity as of late. We'll have to see how Cloud9 do. They've come back from Las Vegas, unfortunately unable to claim championship title, I guess, against TSM. Maybe looking to bully Tribe here. As the fight breaks out, T-Tiger's trying to do damage as he jumps through Old School, but he can't find the kill. First blood to T-Tigers, and now Dienzio's trying desperately to get one back, but he cannot. It's 2 for the Kitty Cat, but he won't go for 3. 2 kills for Cloud9 in the early skirmish.
A difficult place for them to be fighting this early in the game. I Love Joseph on the Koshka is just going to do a huge amount of damage just in small condensed areas. And it opens up C9 to pick up the initial 2 kills, get themselves off to a very good early start. And this should just set them in a good pace to kind of pressure Zio endlessly within the lane and kind of shut down T-Tigers before he gets online.
Not only that, or just that, actually, absolutely that Source is the fact that, like you mentioned, he can pressure T-Tigers. This matchup, the Reza into Koshka, can be a little bit treacherous in the early game. Now that Joseph has this early start, it's even worse for T-Tigers. You just see Celsia melt in front of our eyes. The kill goes over to Gabe Vizzle. T-Tigers going to desperately try and steal away this Treant before seeing if he can't escape, but this Troublemaker unlikely to be able to do so. Does manage to get away for now. Maybe Cloud9 just ignore him so that they can secure camps in the middle of the map instead. Cloud9 in a very prosperous position.
Yeah, Gabe was on the search, but that just shows how much early burst the side of Cloud9 has. Arden does a little bit of deceptive damage. Blood for Blood is pretty good for just, in the early stages where no one's got those resistances, the health is still pretty low. And until T-Tigers gets the Aftershock online and be a little bit more cooldown reduction, it's just going to be hard for him to be able to fight because he wants to take these long and drawn out fights. Can't really do that if I Love Joseph is bursting you to, less than half health or any of your, out.
Once we hit level 6 Source, there will be some interesting dynamics between the Koshka and the Reza. Of course, Never Form Detonation Reza's ultimate makes you invulnerable, so it means you can dodge out the Yummy Captive Frenzy with a well-timed ultimate. I'll have to see if that ever comes into play. It is going to be T-Tigers looking for a bit of aggression onto Joseph. The burst is there, but T-Tigers seems to be losing this fight as he decides to disengage. Everyone on Tribe roaming down Cloud9 as well, just in case this fight was to go any other way. Now Tribe securing position over the middle of the map. They want this Elder Treant and they want kills as well. Going to be Dienzio looking to try and find some damage onto Gabe Vizzle, but I think Cloud9 have managed to escape, and instead this central Treant will be the prize for Tribe, unless they can find an Old School rotating dangerously. It is going to be Gabe Vizzle in the middle of it all. Joseph re-engages, Dienzio low, very squishy, but they're able to find the kill onto the Kitty Cat. T-Tigers finds that. It will be Tribe continuing to put the pressure on to Old School. It's a double for the Troublemaker. Reza looking for a triple, can't quite find it, but an ace for Tribe.
Yeah, and now Tribe has basically undone all of that initial early game. Those first 2 minutes are basically been reverted. Now T-Tigers should be able to get online, at a reasonable pace, and that was a difficult position for Cloud9 to be in. They felt more confident than they probably should have been. Tribe kind of showed a united front. They just had to group up, move into the jungle, and with I Love Joseph at about half health, it was a dangerous proposition.
Certainly was. The advantage that Celsia brings to those early game fights is that healing with the Sigil. And like you mentioned, if T-Tigers can get a bit more of an extended brawl onto this Koshka, can find himself in a adventurous position. Now 3-3, gold even between the two sides here. This series showing that these teams are fairly evenly matched, at least as far as early aggression is concerned.
Yeah, and T-Tigers picked up the extra, or at least picked up his chronograph before finishing the Aftershock. Wait, no. Item build. Confused. I just got really confused about item build. I saw the extra heavy prism. I was like, yeah, no, he's picking up the extra cooldown reduction so that he'll be good before he builds his aftershock. I'm like, no, that doesn't make any sense. But
so
he's getting closer to being
typically it's just more crystal power. Aftershock doesn't offer a huge amount of crystal power, so what's been popularized is this heavy prism to go with the aftershock before you build the aftershock, which just gives you a huge power spike when aftershock is completed, and also puts you ahead if you want to go into your broken myth next. So we do have a pause going on. It was said before Source that one of Cloud9's players was experiencing some internet issues. It is Joseph, and I assume that this pause is probably in relation to that. However, Cloud9 were offered the chance to substitute a player before the game started. They will have to play with Joseph for the rest of the game, and eventually a point will be hit. If Joseph can't fix his internet connection, the unpause will just have to come through, and Cloud9 will be forced to play with it.
Yeah, and that makes this series a little bit more difficult for Cloud9 overall because they're coming off the loss at Mobile Masters. The rivalry between them and TSM, goes a long way, but that would have been really good for them to kind of shut down TSM and keep the momentum they have going into the World Championship. They're already gonna be there, but they want to be coming in as strong as humanly possible. Now, Tribe, pretty far behind in terms of points when in terms of making the World Championship, but anything they can do to kind of solidify this roster, get them in a better position, and they're playing with a sub. This could spell disaster for Cloud9 going forward if this kind of starts to affect their mental game and they start racking up losses.
It is Super Sub Celsius though, so if there's ever to be a sub to be had, it would be Super Sub Celsius to come in and rescue you. Playing this Lyra, fairly strong in the current meta. It's fairly interesting to see how the captain meta has evolved in 2.9.1. Typically, the captain role, the least affected from what I've seen. There's not as many drastic changes. Lyra, Lance, Arden, very strong in the current meta. Catherine is still good, perhaps not as prioritized, and Finn in the same fashion. But there's this Churnwalker hero, and I know that Cloud9 have been favoring the Churnwalker. I've been very excited to get my hands on North America today, Source, because if any region out of EU and NA were to pull out something new and exciting and innovative, it would be North America. And so if I don't have a Churnwalker by the end of the day, I'm going to riot.
Well, let's hope it comes from Cloud9. They're a team in a position to experiment, to work on more strategies, to expand their team's horizons. I hope to see it. I've been playing, a little bit of Churnwalker. I don't think I've lost on Churnwalker. Not to say that that's, super impressive, but it's, it's a very fun character to play. I've been able to just kind of spam games on him and really start to get a sense of how much playmaking potential is there. And in the hands of somebody far greater than myself, somebody like Gabe Vizzle, I anticipate it will make massive plays.
Well, we'll have to find out. Not today, not just now, but perhaps later on in the evening we can get some Churnwalker. Aftershock has been completed for T-Tiger's Reza. A huge power spike, and he's moving up to lane. He has that Neverform detonation online as well, ready to go and burst someone down. For those unfamiliar with Reza's kit, his main damage output is in fact his passive, which is Fire Starter. He applies that via his A and his ultimate, and applies the prop that can be bursted down for huge amounts of damage. It's his highest CP scaling ability, and T-Tigers can really set up some flashy plays with that. DNC though, in a bit of a risky position, as it is going to be T-Tigers jumping over the wall with the ultimate, looking for old school. His auto attack's applying that passive, but he's very low. And look at that, Dienzio, he just drops to T-Tigers. Joseph, in fact, now it's T-Tigers in trouble as well, as he will go down. 2 kills to Cloud9. And Tribe not able to execute on their dive there. Cloud9 just ready for it.
Yeah, I like the aggression from Tribe. I like that they were looking for a play like that, but they split their damage. There might have been an opportunity to instantly take Old School or Gabe Vizzle out if they'd been able to focus that damage on the single target. They don't, and I Love Joseph shows up for the cleanup. And it's very difficult when there's a Koshka, who's going to show up behind your team, especially when T-Tiger's open with the Netherform detonation. That ability was off the board. He wants to be up in their faces. He wants to kind of bait as much ability damage, as many cooldowns out of I Love Joseph as humanly possible. And when you kind of open with what is essentially your trump card, they're going to tell their team. Like, everyone's going to know that that's already been used. and I Love Joseph is going to clean up fights.
But now, I have to see how Tribe are able to kind of recover, throwing away some of their comeback positioning. Joseph, a very good spot at the moment, as he's also completed his Aftershock. We do see T-Tigers securing himself some reflex blocks all around for the Tribe roster so that they can prevent what is a Yummy Captain Frenzy shutdown. Also with Gabe Vizzle hitting level 6 now, it means that ultimate from the Arden is online, can really change the playing field. I have to see how Tribe do decide to play around this. Celsius has the components for a Crucible, but he's not quite there yet. And even when the Crucible was built, how do you prioritize it? There's a wait for it for the silence on Vox. There's the Gauntlet as well from this Arden. Going to be very interesting to see what he decides to prioritize that Crucible on.
Yeah, Cloud9 has picked a composition that gives them the ability to dictate item builds. It's one of those things where if there's enough crowd control, if there's enough of these big, massive teamfight ultimates that require you to need a reflex block, you throw builds, you delay builds. You also set some of the mentality behind who goes in. The moment they see Gabe Vizzle stepping forward, do they immediately pop their reflex blocks in fear of the gauntlet coming down? How many of these do you prioritize? Where do you time them? Communication between Celsius and the rest of the team is going to be huge, and it's a sub. So how quickly they're able to kind of pick that up over the course of the series is going to be huge, because I don't see Cloud9 stopping, picking compositions that are just going to dictate pace of the game.
You currently see Old School going towards what is the typical Vox build of the previous update. This Poison Shiv, Sorrow Blade combination, likely to finish it off with a breaking point for that ramp up damage. You often see Voxes do this when there's a Lyra on the other side. However, crit has been prioritized. Gold Miner has been started up. That's a silence going out. Doesn't connect. Gauntlet's laid down, and Dienzio trying to lay down damage. Whoa! Gold Miner stolen away by T-Tigers, and Joseph will lose his life to the Rezzer as well. Old School now the target, trying to escape, but he will fall to Celsius. Tribe with a huge play around the Gold Miner.
I didn't think T-Tigers was actually going for the steal. I thought the Netherform detonation was really just to reposition in the fight and be able to close in on the backline of C9. But T-Tigers, he kills two birds with one stone. It was also a well-timed play from the side of Tribe. They were able to do it right as the Gold Miner was getting low and people were peeling off to be able to body up the members of Tribe, and no one was actually DPSing the Gold Miner. So that comes out ahead with about a 2k gold advantage for the side of Tribe, and now we're getting to that point where Reza is going to start to get really scary. If he's able to get into the backline, put pressure onto Old School, if at least there's a little bit of peel coming out from the Lyra, or at least better repositioning, the Arcane Path sets up so that T-Tigers doesn't actually have to use the Netherform detonation to get in the backline. We can see Old School going down very, very quickly in these fights.
Going to be a rush onto the turret by Cloud9. Tribe trying their best to prevent it from going down. Joseph taking a lot of damage. Turret does fall, but here comes T-Tigers and instantly deletes that Koshka Neverform onto Old School. He's just dead. No way he escapes. A double for this 5-2-2 Rezzer, and it will be just Tribe pushing down the lane, looking to secure a turret of their own.
I don't think Cloud9 was prepared for how much damage just initially came out. Also, they stuck around the turret, took a little bit of extra damage off of that. I Love Joseph was super low, went into the backline to try and kill Zeo, and couldn't finish the job. Now another turret is going to go over to the side of Tribe. They should get away from this a little... Yeah. Oh, no.
That's a Yummy Captain Frenzy onto T-Tigers. He doesn't have the energy either for any of his abilities, so he is dead. Will be the sacrificial lamb for the side of Tribe. Going down a Dragon's Eye second item for this Rezzer. Very interesting. Dragon's Eye gives you 85 crystal power, and over time stacks up. So every second you're in combat, 20 extra crystal power. Cloud9, very aggressive. Instantly take the turret. It is just trade after trade here. Have to see if Tribe decide to progress further and look for a fight. It is going to be Dienzio diving forward, but instantly Joseph jumps on top. Petal deleted, very low HP. T-Tigers will not look to fight here. It is just going to be a Tribe allowing Cloud9 to escape. The Dragon's Eye is an interesting item on Rezzer. Can stack it very effectively up to 9 stacks. We'll have to see if it is the most effective item, however, for T-Tigers.
I definitely feel it fits where Broken Myth was in Rez's old build. If you got into these longer and longer engagements, you already have a very high amount of burst. You're a very mobile character. The moment that you get in range of enemy heroes, you have the potential to drop a lot of squishies to half health. You combine that with what Broken Myth used to bring to you, and really, you know, the Pierce was part of it, but you liked the stacking. I think with the Dragon's Eye, if T-Tigers goes now into a little bit more of a defensive build, and he really plays on surviving the team fights for long periods of time and having those 9 stacks, he will do a lot of damage, especially to Joseph in Old School. That last play was a little bit unfortunate. Zelsier used the fountain, but the timing was a little bit off there by maybe a second or two. He was looking for that last minute heal onto Zeo. Zeo is critting really hard with the double tornado trigger, and the fight is on.
Ooh, fight breaking out around the gold miner. I think it was just a bait from Tribe. Have to see how they play this one. It's going to be Yummy Captain Frenzy blocked. Tienzio going very low, but look at T-Tigers onto Old School trying to find the kill, and he will be able to snipe it away with a Scorcher. Joseph now going to be the aggressor onto by this Reza, and oh dear, Joseph struggling to escape though. T-Tiger's missing his skill shots onto the kitty cat. Will finally find the snipe. There it is, coming on through. T-Tigers has opted to max up his A, which gives him 2 extra range from 7 to 9. Makes that skill shot very long. If you are opting in for a bit more crystal power like T-Tigers has done, then can be effective. However, very clever, this minion candy onto the gold miner by Gabe Bizzle. He just went to the shop and purchased it and then plopped it down. Basically says to Tribe you won't be able to get anything other than a teamfight win.
Yeah, also T-Tigers doesn't have the Storm Crown, which used to be a little bit more common on Rezzas. It's definitely still there in the recommended, and it makes sense. You do a lot of auto-attacking in between your spells, especially in the early game when you're trying to get out that clear. But with what is more of a team fight build, and here we start to see the defenses being kind of prioritized. He's holding on to his Halcyon Potion as long, or Healing Flask as long as humanly possible. So he has that extra survivability, and T-Tiger just wants to sit in the back like we saw in that last fight. Old School, he was at less than half health within the first 2 seconds and just got chased for a long time. Yes, he survived and forced T-Tigers to have to back up, but I love Joseph use his combo, and the fight is on again.
Fight is on, and it is going to be instantly Tienzio removed from it. Yummy Captain Frenzy blocks. T-Tiger's trying to find some damage, but he's just going too low, and he will fall to Old School, leaving only Zelsier being chased on down by Cloud9. Under his turret, is he safe? Never safe, says Joseph. Zelsier likely to fall in just a second. Maybe not. Just about escapes. There's going to be Cloud9, however, looking to take this choke point turret, and nothing Zelsier can do to stop them. Death time is too long on Tienzio. That will be a 3rd turret going over to Cloud9.
And that was the fight that Cloud9's been looking for, where everything lined up, where there were too many spells, too much crowd control, too much disruption for the side of Tribe to just sort of slowly cycle through some of those reflex blocks, and it opens things up for them. Cloud9's definitely not out of it. They do need to protect Old School more, but if they can just continue to get the jump on the side of Tribe and use those big game-changing ultimates to open up the team fights, especially if they take out Zeo. Zeo was gone before things even really got going.
Right now, we're hitting this stage of the game where level 12s are almost there for everyone. Tienzio looking for his 3rd and final crit item, which would likely be a monocle you would expect on this Pew 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 petal. And T-Tigers almost got his double defensive. However, with no Eve of Harvest, not really sustaining much in the fight. One of the more popular Reza builds would be a Aftershock, a Broken Myth, and then Eve of Harvest just to make yourself a sustained king in the team fights. T-Tiger's trying to burst a little bit more with the AMAX. It is going to be another engage, and Tienzio stunned up. Does dive away with the trampoline. T-Tigers re-engages. Tienzio blocks the Yummy Captain Frenzy and will find the kill into T-Tiger. Joseph before going down himself. T-Tigers now looking for Old School. Ramped up 9 Dragon's Eye stacks, but Old School sustaining. The Eve of Harvest means T-Tigers doesn't have any sustain. Fire, no Eve of Harvest. That was great English, Dalsey. It is going to be Old School chasing on in, and T-Tigers, whoa, bursts down. Old School, goodbye, my friend. Tribe comes out with a 2-for-1.
I mean, that's what happens when not all of your stacks on Dragon's Eye have decayed, and you can kind of just turn around and land what is the standard Reza combo. I like that team fight from Tribe, the way that they played throughout most of it. They kind of overcommitted. The Kraken have been aggro. They couldn't really stick around for a long amount of time. Just the initial play off of that, again, I think I Love Joseph might want to use the Yummy Cat and Frenzy onto T-Tigers. They keep going for Zeo, but it doesn't matter if T-Tigers is putting it that much pressure onto Old School. And I definitely think we'll see an attempted steal here from I Love Joseph.
Well, there is the bright ball out from Zelsia, which pretty much shuts down any engage onto the Kraken, and she will be unleashed. Such a close game so far, back and forth. 22 kills in only 18 minutes here, Source. Bloodthirsty opponents, and now the Beast, she's onto the fold, is going to be pushing down the lane. We'll have to see which team can get the upper hand. Cloud9 down at the shop. Infusions being refreshed. His flares picked up as well for Gabe Bizzle. They're looking for a flank play by the looks of it. Tribe, will they fall prey to this? Spotted out with a flare. There goes the gauntlet. Stuns up 2, silences 2 as well. Oh dear, Tribe, they may be in trouble. Here comes the detonation, but it is going to be Dienzio losing his life. T-Tigers trying to escape. Joseph on this kitty cat, but he won't be able to for now as they tag in and out. Zelsia rejoining the Reza, and instead they turn their attention to the turrets, helping the Kraken push down the lane. It may just be a sacrifice to ensure that that choke point is open, and it is. Zelsia likely to lose his life to Joseph and goes down for the ace. But now this Kraken might just have the opportunity to push down an extra turret, considering how healthy it was as it entered the base.
Yeah, that was a good team fight for Cloud9. Got the best out of it that they could. I do think that they will lose this initial tower. Actually, it's so hard to tell sometimes. I keep thinking that Old School is just gonna start DPSing more damage, like just laying out more damage, but it is a Vox and there really isn't that much of an acceleration on the damage that's gonna come out, so they will lose one Bane Crystal turret. But that was good positioning from them. They had a good sense of what was going on. They knew it was coming. You know, it was a pretty obvious play for Cloud9 to look to try and pick a fight before they have to really defend out the Kraken. But just better play out of Cloud9. The double silence from Old School really set them up.
Certainly did. And as you can see the replay, I think that push down by Tribe, knowing that they'd lost the team fight just to secure that choke point turret, was actually probably the best that you can hope for at that point, because opening up the choke point ensured that the Kraken would be able to get to the second and the first Vein Crystal turret, which is pretty important. 2 turrets for the push, exactly what Tribe wants. You can see them currently just sitting in their base, not wanting to adventure too deep into their jungle. Do see a Norwave Gauntlet picked up here by Celsia, looking to place it on top of Gabe Vizu, who has that Void battery in his inventory and is actually sitting very close to hitting the amount of gold he needs to purchase an Echo, I believe. Just looking for another 300 gold and he would have an Echo. Pretty important for this Arden. If he can lock down the Petal and the Reza and stop them from being mobile, then the cleanup from Cloud9 could be disastrous for Tribe.
Yeah, and it's difficult with how mobile the side of Tribe is. Yes, their crowd control is fairly low. They pretty much rely on raw damage and good positioning, but they've got a team composition that can do that. You've got speed out of Lyra, you've got the Arcane Passage, you've got the mobility of T-Tigers, trampling from Zeo. There's a lot of abilities to kind of get them out, assuming they stop Gabe Vizzle from getting the initial engage, which is pretty much how every fight is going.
Well, here's going to be Gabe Vizzle sitting by the shop, looking for this ambient from Old School. And the Echo will come through for him. There she is, now purple, as she is a utility item, this Echo. We'll have to see how it does play out in this fight. If Zolcia can play the Norwave Gauntlet at the right time, then he can prevent Gabe Vizzle from using the Echo to repeat his ultimate. Can slow down the engage from Cloud9, in fact, can remove that double gauntlet if played well. Tribe really having to play this next team fight perfectly. Both these teams in a position now where this team fight will pretty much dictate the winner of the first game of this series.
Yeah, and Tribe, they're looking for as many points as they can get. They are pretty far behind, but still have some potential to at least make a good showing coming out here in Split 2. And looking for good positioning on this Gabe Vizzle will start to take a little bit of damage to Tigers as he overcommitted.
Cloud9 have the positional advantage, but now have to start backing off. They don't want to enter the base of Tribe just yet. Tribe okay to clear the wave and push it back on up. We see this time and time again from Cloud9 when they are looking for the perfect team fight, that rotation down the lane, forcing their opponents to come to them and then backing off, just hoping that one time the misstep comes through. Tribe now up by the tri-bush, and Cloud9 ready, so ready to look for a team fight. Gabe Vizzle takes a lot of damage. There's the silence, there's the gauntlet. Dienzio blocking up the Captain Frenzy, and he will get deleted nonetheless. T-Tigers now on the escape, as is Zelsia, who is taking so much damage and will fall in eventually to Joseph's kitty cat. Does go down. Cloud9 going to take away this sentry here. And they will look to take away the Kraken as well, and there's pretty much nothing T-Tigers can do about it.
Yeah, T-Tigers, he was looking to dive that back line, but the side of Cloud9 just charged straight forward. He pretty much missed everybody. He flew over the enemy team, and it left Zio pretty much vulnerable all on his own. Zelsia was stepping forward, kind of looking to make that initial engagement play. And Cloud9 come out of head just because of a little bit of mispositioning. It looked like it could have been, you know, a good initial jump with the Netherform detonation from T-Tigers, but he just missed the mark. And now it'll be Kraken going over the side of Cloud9. Tribe will have another attempted defense, but they're going to have to wipe Cloud9 very quickly and get back to defend that Kraken.
We'll have to see if they're able to do it here. T-Tigers a lot of gold in his inventory. Probably looking to purchase up an infusion. Maybe even get himself a piercing shard. I'll be interested to see what his decision is when you have 17,000 gold in your inventory. See that piercing shard now there, and an infusion will come through just in a second. Maybe want to upgrade his boots either. Perhaps not. Crystal Sentry has respawned, but it's just going to avoid the Kraken narrowly. Head on home to work. Cloud9 will just ignore the sentry for now. Their goal is this Vain Crystal, but it's an engage coming out from Zelsia. A gauntlet, not quite placed well. Dienzio escaping, kiting, old school, struggling with T-Tigers, but the Captain Frenzy is blocked. Joseph now trying to find a kill onto Petal. She gets the heal, she finds the return damage. T-Tigers may go down, no, able to escape onto the healing platform, and Cloud9 have been evicted from Tribe's base. The welcoming party is not happy today, as Old School will lose his life as well, and Gabe Vizzle would just buy time for the Kraken, as he's very tanky, but eventually does fall. Tribe are now looking to race the Kraken. The Kraken has taken the first Vain Crystal turret down to a staggering 1/3 HP. This turret will fall before Tribe even enter the base. There it goes, and now it's onto the Vain Crystal. I think with a pew 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 Petal, they should be okay to win this game here. It's a narrow call from Tribe. Perhaps it's a game-winning call from Tribe as they focus the Vain Crystal and defeat Cloud9 in game 1 of this series.
Beautifully calculated. That is some serious game sense. Just know that you have that much damage to make that play, and you have to know. You have to know and commit to a call like that. So Tribe will take game 1 in spectacular fashion over Cloud9.
Incredible stuff coming through from Tribe. We questioned whether or not this super sub Zelsia would hinder or would perform for Tribe, and in this game it performed. That last gauntlet coming through, gauntlet stopper from Zelsia to portal on top of the Arden, lay down the Bright Bulwark, preventing the gauntlet from going where it wanted to go, and then the Norway preventing an echoed gauntlet right at the end. Incredible stuff from Zelsia at the end, and we get to see Reza as well. It's exciting times in here in North America. I'm sure our analysts are eager to dig their teeth into it, so let's give it back to Munchables to break down game 1.
Thank you very much, Dowsy, and the Source coming on through there. We do have a Tribe victory over Cloud9, 1-0 up in this series, winning with the Reza, winning with a base race, no less. What an exciting way to start off the North American split too. And I mean, let's start by talking about that early game, because Koshka versus Reza, we expected it to be action-packed, but that was hectic.
Yeah, right off the bat, level 1, I said Koshka has the early advantage over Reza, and what did we see? Immediately, Cloud9 goes in, finds a couple of kills, but once you have a couple of items, a little bit of CP, that's when Reza can start to find the damage, and they took advantage of a rotation, catching T-Tigers out at about half health, were able to turn it into an ace, and all of a sudden recover all of that momentum that Cloud9 had just picked up.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's very interesting because traditionally Koshka is one of the strongest early game heroes. That's what we know her for. On the other hand, Reza is one of the weaker early game heroes. Again, that's common knowledge, but now it's different. Reza is able to fight back, and this is the effect of 2.9. Dowsy, I want to say something. Zelsiar is the mega sub, he's not the super sub, for those of you who know that meme.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a look at our first set of replays there. Some replays of what was happening during the early game in this matchup. As we mentioned before, very back and forth to start things off.
Yeah, and again, right off the bat, this was just a poorly chosen fight, really, for Tribe. You have to know that you don't have this level 1 advantage against a Vox and a Koshka at level 1. But then, like I said, they're able to come through, catch T-Tigers, or I love Joseph, sorry, in a rotation where they were able to find that first kill. T-Tigers getting that kill on the board. And from there, 3-on-2, it doesn't matter if you have an early game comp or a late game comp. If you have the numbers advantage, you're going to be able to find kills.
Yeah, absolutely. And we saw multiple fights in this early game. This was the last fight of the early game. Sorry.
I mean, this was a mistake coming from Tribe. They thought they could do more than they could. They went for the dive, tried to get a kill on Vox, but they couldn't get it. And then Koshka, Joseph managed to flank as they were trying to retreat away from the turret and managed to pick up 2 kills. That's when C9 were actually able to catch back in gold, catch back up in gold, and were able to push their advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic early game coming out from both sides, honestly. And actually, off the back of those 3 fights, the gold difference was actually pretty minimal from either side. So we went into a very even early game. Then once we got to the later stages of the game, this is where the fights really started to matter. And honestly, some exceptional fights across the board from both of these teams, and you could really see the mechanical play that we're so used to out of these two teams. Let's take a look at one of the fights that was happening way towards the later stages of the game.
Yeah, and this was one of those fights that Dowsy was talking about at the end there. Or I believe it was actually Source that mentioned the use of the bright bulwarks from Lyra to prevent the gauntlets from being able to have the same level of effect that they would like to have had. It allowed Dienzio to barely stay safe outside on the skirmish edges of this fight, and once they take down 1 kill, that's all they need on Tribe with this composition. Is if you can get 1 target down, you can then just steamroll the rest of the fight. That's exactly what they did here. They took down Joseph, and from there isn't really a whole lot that Old School and Gamevizzle can do against the sheer amount of damage that comes out from T-Tigers and Dienzio.
And then we get a base race coming out as well.
I mean, the base race, they chose to go for this very risky call, but it's very calculated at the same time, and they ended up being able to take down the turret as the Kraken was hammering the base on the other side of the map, almost losing the game because of the call, but they ended up pulling it off. And this is a perfect example of the back and forth we saw from both of those teams. To be honest, that's also credited to the mistakes they were making, because once they got ahead, one team would throw, and Tribe, they didn't really play to their win condition very well. They were going face-to-face against C9's composition, and that's not what you exactly want to do. You want to use Lyra's sustain, you want to protect the pedal a little bit better, and Tribe just didn't really do that very well.
Well, they did it just about well enough to take the game, though. So good stuff coming out from Tribe and Cloud9 off the back of a loss in Mobile Masters, off the back of a loss in Week 3. Maybe looking a little bit shaken coming into this week, I have to say. We're used to this team coming in and dominating their opponents. That's not what we've seen just here. Yeah, I mean, they looked strong. It looked initially like it was going to just be Cloud9 business as usual, but then again, Tribe was able to find them in rotations, was able to catch them out. That's things that we normally don't see teams doing against Cloud9. We don't see teams trying to, if a team gets pushed in and loses 2 or 3 kills early on, almost like 9 times out of 10, that team's just going to start playing safe. Be like, okay, let's just play a little bit passive, farm up. You don't want to fall too much further behind. Tribe said, we're not having any of that. We just gave up 2 kills. We're going to go into their jungle because we know that their jungler is going to be a little bit low from clearing it and find kills, find opportunities to force our way back into the game. So this one was, I think, Tribe just having the mentality of being able to play from behind that early on very effectively, less so than it was Cloud9 being shaken or rattled. Yeah, absolutely. So apparently there are still some connection issues going on with our team, so we may well have a sub coming into Game 2. I don't want to go too deep into that conversation. That's what we did for Game 1, and the sub ended up not happening in the end. So now looking towards Cloud9, what is it that they need to change coming into this game? Or you look like you already have something you wanted to tell me here, Zara.
I just wanted to touch on the fact that Tribe playing aggressive and trying to get leads is really good against C9, because not only, like we've mentioned in the past, C9 has a fairly weak early game sometimes if they don't have the strongest compositions. When they get behind, it's something that they're not used to playing with. They're always used to being ahead and playing confident, playing very aggressive. When they fall behind, suddenly it's something they don't do all the time, and that can be capitalized as one of their weaknesses, and it can be abused. Tribe trying to play to that strength.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll see if they can keep that up during this series. Now, Cloud9, as you rightly say, once they fall behind, they struggle to get themselves back into the game, and that's exactly what we've just seen there. And I'm curious to see what Cloud9 are going to change coming into game number 2 to make sure that they can keep that lead and make sure that they continue to snowball. What are you guys expecting? Is there going to be big changes coming into the draft, for example?
I don't think there needs to be huge changes in the draft because the draft was not the issue. It was just the fact that they weren't able to really kind of counter some of that aggression. Other than there was a couple of fights where when they saw that the side of Tribe was trying to go all in, they would just run right past the Reza as he used his jump, and then just all of a sudden you have everyone on pedal with no defense there for her. So it wasn't so much the draft that was the issue as it was just, I mean, Tribe just got a couple of fights at the key moments. That was really it. It wasn't there wasn't massive glaring execution issues. There wasn't massive draft issues. It was just when Tribe won the fights, they were able to take more off of the back of them. I mean, Cloud9 were pushing with Kraken to end the game. It wasn't like this was a game where they got, they floor swept with them. It wasn't a game where they were out of it. They were very much on the verge of winning this game themselves.
I mean, they were on the verge of winning, but I do disagree there a little bit because, in my opinion, Koshka is a pick that needs to snowball early game and mid game. In this update specifically, there are so many picks that can play against her and fight back, like the Reza, like we saw in the first game. So, in my opinion, the Koshka pick, the Arden pick is an extremely strong one, but it doesn't provide too much support to her or enough to allow her to win the early game. And if they're going to try to pick up things such as Koshka, they need to make sure to snowball.
Now, sorry, I wasn't trying to cut you off there. I want to start to talk a little bit about. I know I keep on harping on this. I want to talk about potential of a Churnwalker pick because my heart is breaking before your eyes, ladies and gentlemen, because I desperately want to see this. I want to ask you guys, what are the conditions required for this Churnwalker pick to come through? It's clear to me that this is either a pick that people don't want to play or it's a situational pick. And in the second case, what is the situation that needs to occur for Churnwalker to be a pick that teams are more comfortable grabbing?
It's tough to say. Again, we talked about it earlier because of the fact that we don't know necessarily what's going on in these team scrims. Personally, I feel like it's something where you don't want to have too much hard engage on the opponent's side of the field because the one downside of Churnwalker, because every hero has to have some sort of downside, otherwise why wouldn't anyone not pick them? And the one downside of Churnwalker is he doesn't have the greatest tools available to protect his allies. And so if you can dive past the Churnwalker, all of a sudden you're able to get onto the carries and you're able to take his carries down while he's left not able to have as much of an impact as he would like. So I feel like if the opponent has, the hard engage, that's why Churnwalker hasn't been coming up because hard engage has been seen so much right now.
And to your point, Tasty, if Churnwalker misses his chain and hook or hook and chains, he all of a sudden becomes a sitting duck that doesn't provide anything because his kit relies on that hook and chains landing. So the fact that we're not seeing him, it's more about teams not feeling confident enough. Otherwise, he's very rewarding. He's an extremely rewarding hero to pick up if you're able to play him effectively. So far, the teams are not feeling confident enough to do that.
Yeah, no one's go for that one just yet. Let's take a look at this draft as it is already underway. Catherine and Kestra are going to be taking away the same bans as the first game in the series. Then Lyra, the first lock-in coming through for Tribe.
Petal immediately going to grab there by Cloud9. This is what we saw.
Instant saw ban as well.
Yeah, the last time we saw these two teams go head-to-head, this Petal was very hotly contested, and it looks like that's going to be maintaining its presence here.
Petal's the new Adagio, apparently, when we see Tribe.
I mean, something that we're not touching on, they are playing against Zelcia. Zelcia is renowned for his saw, or used to be a long time ago for those of you who are in the community. So Cloud9 perhaps respecting Tribe. Also, DNZO is an incredible saw player, so there are a few players on the side of Tribe that can play saw very effectively.
Yeah, I have a hard time believing that the saw ban is targeted at Zelciar because I just don't see Dienzio or T-Tigers moving down to the captain position to allow him to play the saw unless we get a saw port coming out, in which case I don't think you're worried about banning away a saw port. So it makes obviously Dienzio is very good on it. Saw is just very good right now. That's why the saw ban is here.
Put on your tinfoil hats, boys. We saw Cloud9 play saw port way back in last season against Nova. We also saw them start the weapon power Petal Immediately, Tribe picked up the weapon power petal. Maybe they were also picking up the sword port. I don't know, just a conspiracy.
We also saw a support Sky, and no one else is doing that. So
but it was actually good.
I will
anyway,
keep that tinfoil hat
Black Feather.
and
We're
under the
finally
desk.
gonna
first
get
time
to
today.
See, yeah, we're finally gonna get to see the Black Feather. This hero right now in 2.9 is extremely strong because of his execution damage coming out from his A ability on those high health targets, which is pretty much every hero in Vainglory after the changes. Finally, we're gonna get to see him. This is most likely gonna be in the jungle, however, because they already have the petal. I mean, they can't flex it and put petal in the jungle SCP and put Black Feather in the lane, so they can go different ways with it.
I just, based on the playstyles of the players, would much rather see the weapon petal with I Love Joseph on the Black Feather in the jungle. So hopefully that's what we do end up getting. For the side of Tribe now, though, they have definitely their work cut out for them going into those two carries. Like, yeah, trying to figure out what you want. Obviously, the Vox, very safe pick, can work well into just about anything, can work well with just about anything. So a very safe, very kind of baseline pick there with the Vox.
I mean, to be honest, it's also a very smart draft coming from C9 because it denies the cruel pick that we know is so strong. Why? Because Petal is already picked and can't go against him in the jungle SCP. We saw earlier G2 on the European side when they went up against Petal, they were forced to flex the lance into the jungle. So that denies the pick. It's a smart draft coming from C9. Now the cruel, the Reza gets picked for Tribe. We saw it earlier on T-Tigers. He's doing extremely well on it. It's actually a very similar comp. The only difference is Vox is replacing Petal and that carry role. I can expect the same result perhaps if they're able to execute it as well.
All right, so where do Cloud9 go from here if they want to try and beat this composition pick?
Oh, I think they just need to go for one of those big, beefy supports. Churnwalker would be actually not too bad into this. I would love to see it, but I was going to say Arden or Lance are the go-tos right now because they just are so strong with just stacking health. They have so durable in the fights, and that's what you need here.
I mean, Arden has been basically 100% pick ban across the course of today. He has risen in popularity exceptionally. I mean, he's always been in the meta, at least on the edge, but today, across the course of our games, he's been incredibly popular. How are we expecting this one to go then? Because we don't have the Koshka this time, we still got the Reza. Are we still going to see that same level of early aggression out of both of our teams here?
I mean, Tribe, I think I'm going to play very aggressive. C9, on the other hand, they're going to play a little bit more reserved, try to scale the CP Black Feather, pick him up a few items, and then start sieging in the lane. One thing we haven't touched much on is siege compositions are actually a lot stronger now because wave clear is weaker in the game due to the changes that happened in 2.9. So if they're able to execute well, Tribe doesn't have too many things to fight back against with except for the Lyra.
Yeah, very difficult to break a siege when you can't clear away those minions and they constantly remove the shields from your turrets, and it's very difficult to deal with the sustain out of a Lyra as well. We're just about ready to get on into this game, so let us know on Twitter who you are supporting. Right now, Tribe are 1-0 up, but with the hashtag Vainglory8, you can let us know whether you want Cloud9 to even things up or if you want a full 2-0 victory for our boys in the blue, on the red and white, I think are their colors. I don't know why I'm going into that one. It's time to pass it over to our casters. It's Dowsy and the Source as we jump into game number 2 for this one. We are still in the load screen, but we will be able to jump over into this game in just a couple of seconds. So, Dowsy and the Source, please take it away.
No worries, Munchables. Got you back here to rescue you. I do have to issue a very public apology to Celsia. I am sorry. You are now the Mega Sub, not the Super Sub. My apologies, and I will make sure to use the appropriate titleage throughout the series as we do go on. Tribe are currently 1-0 up against North American champions Cloud9 here. Have to see if Cloud9 can fight their way back into this series, Source.
Yeah, and I was taking a look at the standings. I didn't have time to do all of the necessary math. I'll leave that to Tasty Bacon to tell us where Tribe stands in terms of being able to possibly fight for that world spot. Although this is a great step in the right direction. I like the composition from the side of Tribe. They'll be able to be highly mobile once again.
Mistakes were made in the backs there. Joseph has actually had to pop his healing flask. As you can see, it's currently ticking away bottom of your screen. Old School started up the Treant, and Joseph got stuck inside of it, meaning he was tanking all 3 creeps, and it's very slow clear, the CP Black Feather and Petal at the beginning of the game. So that's a bit of an issue. Cloud9 may just decide not to fight this Elder Treant now because of it. However, T-Tigers also backporting means that they're not looking to fight either, so of course there's no way for Tribe to know that Healing Flask was used, but it looks like Cloud9 getting away with it for the most part at this current juncture.
Yeah, that could have been really devastating if they'd gotten from that level 1 team fight, but T-Tigers decided to back and just pick up a pair of boots, reset everything, and now I think we're going to see a little bit of a slower pace from both sides, as I don't think I Love Joseph is going to want to pick a major fight until that Healing Flask is back up, so we've got probably about a minute to 90 seconds reprieve before both teams really decide to tango.
Yeah, we'll have to find out exactly when that moment is. The CP Blackfeather, fairly unchanged due to the hotfixes we've seen come out in 2.9. We are playing on the latest 2.9.1, and actually Joseph, a bit of an issue here, gets forced away from that Elder Treant by Dienzio. T-Tiger's able to secure it. The Crystal Power Blackfeather, fairly unchanged, The damage coming from your on point was not affected at all by the hotfixes. Joseph very likely to build himself into a Shadow Glass first, and where he goes from that can be, a little bit different. Broken Myth, Clockwork, Spellfire, the new item. CP Blackfeather, really one of the only heroes that can use Spellfire to a very good level. So very, very excited to see Joseph's final build in this game.
Yeah, it makes the poke game pretty interesting for CP Blackfeather. Once you overdrive the on point, there's a lot of potential to become like an actual sieging character, because yeah, you could poke in and out if you had a little bit of siege on the rest of your team, you set up at a good position around a turret, but now that damage could really start to stick. Granted, there is a Lyra on the enemy team, so this situation probably won't occur as badly now, but C9 now feeling more confident that Healing Flask is back up and everybody's here.
Everyone is here. The Treant goes over to Joseph. Tribe going to be marched away from the middle of the map. Cloud9, how aggressive do they want to play is the question. Seemingly not too aggressive, though. Joseph able to snipe away one of those front double minions. Now Cloud9 just keeping up in pacing at this point more than anything. They want to get Joseph to level 8 as quickly as possible. Get that overdrive on that on point. That's when the CP Blackfeather becomes very hard to deal with. T-Tigers, considering he's decided to max his A on Reza, is going to have a bit of poke himself. However, it's not high. The CP ratios on your Scorcher not really matching the on point whatsoever. So it's going to be Joseph kind of winning that one out, but does walk into T-Tigers here, and the rest of Tribe are there as well, which means that Joseph going to probably just back away, can't secure his front. There will lose 44 gold for himself, but is going to be able to walk over and pick up, a couple of items from the shop.
Yeah, and CP Blackfeather isn't going to be tanky for a pretty long amount of time. I think Eve of Harvest would be nice to come out, and that would give him the sustain, but over the long team fights, T-Tigers, again, is going to have the opportunity to really burst through a lot of these targets from the side of Cloud9. The tanking isn't going to come in till later. The Fountain is already there for Gabe Vizzle, so some of that sustain is there for the entirety of the team, but T-Tigers gets into a flow, gets into good positioning, is managing to jump the backline before I Love Joseph actually lands some of that poke, gets that shield from the on point. We could start to see very, very hard engagements, not necessarily on the old school, but onto I Love Joseph.
T-Tigers this time no longer rushing the heavy prism. Must have done it last game because he was against a Koshka who does that and wanted to try and match the build for build for himself. One of the issues I do see coming out of Cloud9 is that there's this Lyra once more in the hands of Zelsia, and we don't often see a Poison Shiv come out of a Weapon Power Petal, opting in for the crit build to just try and delete someone once you get that 20% bonus weapon power damage from the trampoline and the extra range as well. So it's a bit of an interesting dynamic. They won't be able to really stop the healing from Zelsia unless Old School decides to substitute power for a Poison Shiv. Cloud9 really going to have to make sure their coordination is on point here, Source, if they want to be able to delete a single target from the fold.
Yeah, and that could also dictate some things into what becomes I Love Joseph's build. If they do need that burst, maybe going for the Eve of Harvest isn't really worth it. Maybe getting as much, initial, hard damage, that could really be the value that they're looking for. And, that could mean an earlier broken myth just so that they can, cut through any defenses that are there. And that could become a problem. Like I was saying, T-Tigers is going to have a little bit of that sustain with the Aftershock. He wants those longer team fights. I Love Joseph could be in trouble, and they're looking to chase him down.
Lots of damage dealt in a split second there. The Shatter Glass does come out for Joseph, and he's so close from hitting his level 8 to overdrive the on-point as well. T-Tigers, look at his inventory. Currently sitting on top of a Crystal Power Infusion, which is a very hefty investment early on in the game, but of course you can resell, sell back your Crystal Infusions for the full price if you wish to. So it's not something that T-Tigers is going to waste at this point. He's going to hold on to it for the first full-on 3v3 teamfight that Cloud9 and Tribe opt into, or will sell it if he needs to complete an item and basically get that gold back. But right now, everything's very even. None of these teams looking to aggress onto each other, and it's hard to tell who comes out better for this source, if it's Cloud9 or if it's Tribe.
Yeah, I actually like the Crystal Infusion because it's going to give him that momentary team fight boost, and it'll also give him a little bit of shield, a little bit of armor, so that value comes in the middle of a team fight when, he wants to sustain out for just a little bit longer. He manages to use that as they get into a major engagement, and then he'll start building into one of his major items once he starts to build up significantly more gold. He's got a heavy prism, so he's probably about as strong as he's reasonably going to be. Yeah, maybe 500 gets you an extra crystal bit, but that's not going to complete an actual item. So I think it's pretty effective gold usage for the moment. We'll see whether or not they actually win that team fight, because if they don't, then that's 500 gold down the drain.
Yeah, well, we do see that Joseph is matching blow for blow, does have one of his own now. There it is, Infusion goes down, Gauntlet popped, Never Form Detonation going out, but Dienzio managing to heal on up. Can he survive? Found comes out, but it's not enough. T-Tigers needs to find Old School, but look at him falling down. It's a 2-kill advantage for Cloud9, and they're looking for the third. Zelsia, Mega Sub trying to escape and should be able to do so, but Cloud9 gonna push down this turret.
More than enough burst coming out from the side of Cloud9. They're able to cut Zeo down before the sustain really starts to take effect. I thought he might survive that. The fountain came through at that last possible moment to keep him alive. Maybe the healing, it looked like the healing could have been there, but there's more than enough damage coming out of I Love Joseph, and now that's going to be T-Tigers set significant gold behind. I Love Joseph can now go farm up the rest of his jungle with Old School, although Old School seems to be like, I think this is my jungle.
It is his jungle. That's how it works. Old School needing to keep up his gold per minute, known as Gold School for quite some time, just because he is one of the highest gold earners in the carry position in the world. Across the board, just really good at last hitting. You can see that coming through. Currently sitting above Dienzio by just a minor amount, and it's enabled by Gabe Vizzle, who will hold the way for him, catch it, make sure no CS goes missing. Once more we see this gold miner being started up. It's going to be an engage coming out of Zelsia. Everyone from Tribe dives deep, and oh no, Old School, can he escape? Never Form Detonation flies on out. He's looking for the blow up onto the pedal, and they're going to get it. Dienzio finds a kill, but loses his life. Now it's Joseph trying to escape T-Tigers as he dashes on forward, gets heals, gets so much sustain from Zelsia. Joseph will just back on out. A 1-for-1 trade that Tribe ultimately wins out on. However, there's nothing ready to take for it. Par, just a healing camp for themselves, will take that away and just cut away a tiny amount of gold income from Joseph.
Old School had really good positioning towards the later half of that fight, was able to draw everybody pretty far in, but T-Tigers is starting to do serious damage on the Reza, and I Love Joseph. We were talking before the game that the differences in the junglers is a little bit of a skill matchup. I Love Joseph has to land the on points. Every time one of those misses, that's damage lost, that's sustain lost. So, one or two of those miss over the course of a team fight. T-Tiger is pretty much all based around auto attacking. He has much more guaranteed damage, and one mistake is really starting to swing these fights back and forth. Either it's a little bit more damage on T-Tigers, or I Love Joseph isn't necessarily dishing damage out fast enough. So we'll see which team, kind of makes the next mistake. This feels very even, despite there being, a gold lead for the side of Cloud9.
Currently, Old Joseph with the Heavy Prism and Eclipse Prism in inventory. Going to be another fight breaking out, and Old School trying to escape T-Tiger and Dienzio. This pedal very squishy, but will find a single kill. Jumps away with the trampoline, finds two. Old School's a god. And now it's only Zelsia left alive for Tribe as they are going to chase him down, but instead going to turn their attention to the gold mine. It's incredible to see Old School survive that.
The crits were real. So much damage came through, and Zio was pretty much right next to T-Tigers. So, pretty much in the middle of the team fight. Yes, this is a Vox and wants to kite around the side of the fight, but they're going with this high dive composition. Take Old School out of the fight before there's any time for Petal to just sit back and poke and, really land those crits. That doesn't really help help you out that much if Zio is taking that much damage. And maybe it's time for the side of Tribe to slow things down a little bit, because if they take another team fight like that, the gold lead is going to start to become insurmountable, and I Love Joseph is going to hit that, a really solid 2-item power spike. Old School will already be full crit. I think at this point pretty much has, what is that, about 80% crit chance already. It's already getting really, really dangerous for them. They might need to slow things down and look to find a pick, not necessarily dive the fight.
We are going to see a Dragon's Eye completed for I Love Joseph. A interesting second item, I think, for the Black Feather here. The stacks drop off after 2.5 seconds, and he's on point. Currently, as it stands, is on a 3-second cooldown, which would require I Love Joseph to be in melee range on a Crystal Power Black Feather to have the stacks add up. As it's quite punishing. You lose a 3 stacks, I think it is, a second. It's extremely punishing if you miss out on carrying it over. Unfortunately, on the Spectator, we can't actually see the stacks either, so we're never going to know if Joseph has hit his 9 stacks just yet. But oh my, Zelsia engages onto Cloud9. Yeah, look at Old School just kiting around, but this time he will go down before finding a kill. Now it's the 2 versus 2 T-Tigers. A lot of damage output that he can put out here. Joseph losing his Dragon Eye stacks, not attacking. That's a lot of damage just lost in T-Tigers. He must be on 9 at this point because he has been engaged this entire time. Cloud9 once more losing out on this team fight. Yes, it's only a 1-for-1, but look at the health bars. Zelsia has kept them all so healthy. T-Tiger's not looking like he wants to go for this fight just yet, but he's seen Joseph's health, and now he feels a little bit better about it. Unfortunately, not able to secure the healing trio. That goes over to Gabe Vizzle, and that's going to mean that Cloud9 going to hold on to their jungle.
That was a true display of skill from Cloud9 to keep themselves alive and to bait in T-Tigers to almost kill him. So I definitely give them credit for that one. Back to I Love Joseph's build and the pickup on the Dragon Eye, like you were saying, with the fall off of those stacks being so fast, it means consistent engagement, which pretty much means that I Love Joseph is looking to land on point, Rose offensive, then on point again, with basically no downtime whatsoever. Maybe even double Rose offensive, use both of those charges. Pretty much wants to cut through the entire team fight, do all of that damage, and then that next on point, that 4th skill essentially to come out, that's the skill where the burst is really going to come from once he builds up those stacks. So it's pretty much I have confidence in my ability to land every single skill shot and to really play these team fights perfectly. And in that last fight, that didn't happen. They finally managed to put the pressure onto Old School, despite what looked like a really good gauntlet that came out of Gabe Vizzle, and almost, it looked like it was going to cut them off, and Old School was going to survive that. Finally, T-Tigers got into the backline, and his damage is far more consistent, so his Dragon's Eye stacks were built up and the damage was there.
Yeah, if I'm going to be honest with you, Source, I don't like the Dragon's Eye on Black Feather. I just don't see it goes against CB Black Feather's playstyle, quite unlike his weapon power format where you get hands dirty and stick to a target and do continuous damage. Black Feather, kind of the opposite. You often poke, and then eventually you go in and do that after you've poked down your opponent. However, due to the playstyle that Tribe are playing, I Love Joseph may just find himself in a position where he does have to continuously fight. But it's not like the broken myth of update 2.8 and before, where the stacks would stick for a long time, 4 seconds before dropping, and it would allow you to just poke and stack it up one by one with your on points. On this current update, it just doesn't work. Gabe Fizzle does engage. That's Neverform detonation coming on down. Joseph in the middle of the fight. He is stacking up. Dienzio in a bit of trouble, but he will find the kill. T-Tigers finds that, and now he's looking for Old School as well. The pedal falling down. It's a double for the Reza, and now Gabe Fizzle will be on the menu for the Troublemaker as T-Tigers taking a bit of pain from the Crystal Sentry, but finds the engage he needs onto Gabe Fizzle. Couple more auto attacks might find the kill. T-Tigers doesn't have the cooldown, but maybe he can get it. He's going to find the kill. The ace will come through, and Tribe now has a lot of possibilities of objectives to secure.
Yeah, and we saw pretty much what you were just describing. I love Joseph, the damage really isn't there for that build. It's not connecting in the way that he needs it to, and he got bursted down very, very quickly. They decided to finish I Love Joseph first instead of chasing down Old School. I said this earlier, they can pick either of these targets because it's not a sustained build for CP Blackfeather. He's gone for, you know, basically he's looking to push the limits of what his damage could be, and if every single skill were to land, it would work, but it's just not coming out efficiently for him. And now they're not able to possibly deal with the healing coming out from Zelsier. So you've got Fountain plus standard Lyra healing plus, you know, a little bit of shield coming off of the Crucible. There's too many things, I think, possibly keeping the members of Tribe alive. And this time, they're actually coordinating that group's dive. We saw earlier when they did make that dive and Old School survived, you know, a lot of pressure was put on the Zio. He took a lot of damage. Nobody was looking at those other two members. Now they're able to just instantly jump on top of the target. The moment that Old School jumps out, they focus Joseph, and Joseph doesn't have the ability to survive.
Not to mention that, you know, we'll talk about it in a second. Another engagement comes out of Zelsier. Oh wow, Dienzio taking him down so low. Tigers dives on forward. It's a second gauntlet coming down from Gabe Fizzle. It's a defensive one this time. It looks like Tribe may just look to try and disengage it, trying to do the damage. Oh, Love Joseph will fall. Gabe Fizzle may go down next. Old School so low. T-Tiger's going to chase him down as Dienzio finds the second in that team fight. Old School's just about escaped here. But it's a 2-0. A Crystal Sentry eliminated, and a Kraken on the menu as well for Tribe.
Yeah, and we see it once again. Put the pressure on Old School, make him have to jump out, make them have to use a reasonable number of abilities and cooldowns and activates to keep him alive. And then they kind of played that one a little bit slower. T-Tigers dove a little bit further than in the last fight, but eventually he pulled back. And it was kind of this poke war between the ranged members of Tribe and then everybody from the side of Cloud9. And then T-Tigers waited for some cooldowns, then instantly re-engaged, got a pick off, and now that's going to be a Kraken going over to the side of Tribe. And now they're really dictating the pace of this game and looking to take Cloud9 out in the beginning of the week.
And Old School must be triggered. 3 tornado triggers in his inventory. Is looking for the max attack speed. That crit build, it is an intriguing one to say the least. I believe it's a little bit inefficient, but I could be wrong. It does provide a lot of attack speed for the pedal, and we've been seeing that Old School is being engaged upon, so perhaps if he can stutter step like a god, the triple tornado trigger can work. This Kraken going down bit by bit as it starts chipping away at the choke point turret. Down to half HP, they're doing a good job of chipping it away, but Old School doesn't want to use his trampoline offensively, wants to try and get out of this bright bulwark and get out onto the healing platform, able to escape for now. The engage from Tribe this time won't find a casualty. Cloud9 have their gauntlets ready to go. There's just going to be the Kraken focused on down. A single turret taken by Tribe on that push, opening up the base of Cloud9, getting closer and closer to their end objective of toppling the North American champions.
Yeah, not super effective on the Kraken push, but they managed to get one turret. And Old School with the triple tornado triggers, he actually did a lot of damage to that Kraken very, very quickly. Again, math-wise efficiency, you brought it up with the third tornado trigger. I don't know whether or not that's going to be the perfect situation for them, but every time that Old School's been able to survive the fight just a little bit long, just long enough to either pressure T-Tigers out so he's forced to, back up and take that kind of respite that Reza sometimes needs, after pretty much all of the charges on Troublemaker have been used, or whether or not Zio is really, really far up, because again, they're using this full group dive with the Arcane Passage to get on top of Old School and force him to jump away. Maybe with the well-placed Echo from Gabe Fizzle, they're able to actually kind of peel Zio off or isolate Zio away. think that maybe another defensive item, something to help them survive T-Tigers, because if Old School survives, they will win pretty much all of these fights.
Well, we'll have to find out how it does come out. It's Gauntlet being placed, silence going down, snares all around, Dienzio losing his life as we speak, but he is able to survive, and Old School's now in trouble. Dienzio will fall, Old School will follow suit, it seems. No! A snipe comes through from Joseph, and Cloud9 2 for none. Zelsia now running. They've turned the tables here on the fold. Zelsia, with his arcane passage up, means that he's very safe to just run away, but Cloud9 going to return their attentions to the objectives and start whittling them away. The Kraken only seconds from respawning as well, but Cloud9 opting in for turrets at this juncture.
Yeah, and Old School survived. He managed to kite just around the edge of that fight. I thought he was gone multiple times, but great play coming out from the side of Cloud9 to sort of split up where the focus from the members of Tribe were, and that triple tornado trigger is actually starting to do a little bit of work in terms of how much it's actually going to let them siege. It will let them kind of burn through turrets. Now, we saw this happen last game. The Goldie was there. Cloud9 were in control. They got a Kraken, but they fell to, what was just a miracle play coming out of Tribe. Now that they've won a team fight, do they have the ability to replicate that process?
You know what's a really interesting thing? No Broken Myth yet for T-Tigers. Broken Myth, of course, was changed drastically in 2.9. The stacking element put onto Dragon's Eye, but now has 30% Pierce. That's a lot of Pierce. And actually, at 50 shielding, if you were to have the items Eve of Harvest, Shattered Glass, or Eve of Harvest, Broken Myth, at 50 shielding, Broken Myth outdamages the Shattered Glass. It's a very important item. Another fight breaking out. Tribe looking to try and get onto this pedal. It is Old School currently stepping away, trying to get to the Crystal Sentry and deleting T-Tigers, and he does so. It's Dienzio in trouble now. He's gonna fall. It's a double for Pew Pew Pew. Pedal make it. 3, a triple for Old School. Cloud9 with the ace. They're gonna move towards the base.
Cloud9 just opened up that team fight perfectly, pulled them into a great positioning. Gabe Vizzle had an amazing gauntlet. Just the way it was angled, it left them this small amount of space right next to the wall they have to deal with, or be inside the gauntlet, be in that cage. That opens things up for Old School to kite incredibly far back. It was over by the Crystal Sentry. It was a dangerous fight for the side of Tribe, and Cloud9 immediately answer back. That triple tornado goes pew pew away, and Old School will bring down the entire base in what is 10 seconds.
Incredible. Incredible. 3 tornado triggers. Cloud9 bounce back. It's tied apiece 1-1. And I think items will be focused on heavily. Personally, not a fan of the Dragon's Eye Reza. I think you need Broken Myth in your kit just due to the fact that Broken Myth is in fact very strong as soon as your opponents hit level 12 and have at a minimum 50 shielding each. However, we'll have to see how the pros decide to go. We're heading to a game 3. Before we do so, our analysts will let us know exactly what Cloud9 did to take away that victory.
I'm wondering the exact same thing here, Dowsy. What did Cloud9 do? Because it looked like that was a Tribe game for a long time during that matchup. It looked like Tribe were going to be able to finish this one with a 2-0, but Cloud9 managed to get back on the horse, managed to pull things back into their favor. I mean, what went wrong for Tribe partway through for Cloud9 to jump back on top of this?
I mean, this was incredible. I mean, what happened was Cloud9 won a team fight and destroyed the Vein Crystal. That's how they won the game.
I mean,
I was just joking, but yeah, it's like, it was really just the ability of Cloud9 to stay in this one mentally. After losing game number 1, the way we've seen them react to losses recently, like at Mobile Masters, just their video of Isle of Joseph sitting there with his head down for like 20 to 30 seconds straight of just him with his head down after losing to Tribe and then falling behind. I thought for sure they were going to be done.
Yeah, no, I mean, it also wasn't Tribe making mistakes. It was definitely C9 stepping it up, changing their strategy, especially when it comes to their initiations and playing to their win condition. Now, you really can't play against Lyra as a poll comp just because teams are very decisive with their initiations. They don't hesitate at all. Instead, you have to engage, and you need to be the team forcing the team fight against Lyra. That's exactly what C9 did, and that's how they won the team fights.
Yeah, excellent stuff coming out from Cloud9. Let's take a look at our first replay. It's around 8.5 minutes on into this game. This is an early double kill that came on through that started to set things up.
Yeah, and I mean, this was, again, it looked like Tribe's game all the way from the start. They were able to get taken down here right off the bat to start things off, but then they turned it around. They started to get those items rolling. The Reza started to come online. Dowsy was talking about how we wanted to focus on the items. I think that is something we do need to focus on. The Dragon's Eye for both of these CP mages, I like it a little bit more on Reza than I do on Blackfeather, but I do agree with Dowsy in that it's not an ideal item for either of these two. For Reza, it works because at least once you do engage, you are hard engaged, full on.
Staying in the fight,
you have to be able to... Usually when you want to build something like a Dragon's Eye, you want someone that's going to be poking a lot and building those stacks before the hard engage, and that's not either of these two heroes.
All right, we'll see how that's going to continue to develop as the pros continue to play these heroes. Let's take a look at our next replay. About 15 minutes on into this game, this was an ace coming out for Tribe.
And this was Tribe executing a very specific strategy very well, which is to go on the back line, force the carry to run really far back, and then turning your attention to the front line. Reza used his ultimate to scare Petal and Old School away just a bit, and then immediately turned and focused Blackfeather with Vox, and that's how they were able to take him down and move on. This game was definitely a story of back and forth and teams adapting their strategies very quickly when it comes to how the team fight, and that's how they were able to take team fights from one another. At the beginning, C9 were able to go even in the early game, scale, and then play to their win conditions with the items, but then Tribe came back, and then C9 came back.
Yeah,
it's a very nice one.
We actually have a replay of Cloud9 getting themselves back into this game as well. This was around 20 minutes. It wasn't quite a clean ace, but it was a good double kill, and it led to objectives.
Yeah, and the objectives are the key. They're very far behind as far as objectives are concerned right now. 2 turrets down with their base open, and then they're able to find this fight again. It's frustrating as an analyst to not be able to see the Dragon's Eye stack, so we don't know exactly how effective those were in these fights, but the ability of Cloud9 to just find their targets, and this was when Tribe wasn't really focusing on that whole push of your carry away and then switch your focus to the frontliner. That's what we heard Best Chuck talking about at the top of the show as well, how they were able to play against Rogue, is you just put pressure on the enemy carry so that they can't target your carry. They did it against the Celeste, Team Solo Mid did. When Tribe was winning, they were doing it against Old School, forcing the Petal away from the fight so he couldn't really be involved, and then turning their attention to Blackfeather. When they weren't forcing Petal out of the fights, that was when they were able to, Cloud9 was able to win these fights.
And we could see in that replay, the Lyra portal was never used, and that's exactly what I was talking about, is C9 started engaging onto Lyra, forcing the team fight onto her, instead of allowing her to teleport on Petal, and that's how they were able to take these team fights very decisively, despite looking pretty fair and even throughout the game.
Absolutely. And then we saw a similar situation to that as the game came to an end. This was the final fight of the game.
Yeah, this was the final fight, and we see Reza using his ultimate to jump on Petal, forcing her to run back, but this time the Arding Gauntlet coming out was able to lock down Reza so that Petal could finish him before he ran back and focused Blackfeather with Vox like they did earlier in the game. C9 just adapting throughout the game to play these team fights better and better.
You also have to keep in mind the Crystal Sentries with their slow, helping out quite a bit there to prevent the side of Tribe from being able to disengage from that fight once the Gauntlet went down, and to keep them from being able to chase onto Old School, onto that Petal. It was the Gauntlet and the constant slows coming through, allowing Cloud9 to find that team fight win, and then knowing we don't need the Kraken, we can just go in as a team and finish this game off.
Absolutely, and that means that we are now going to a third game in this series. We've got a full series on our hands. We had 3 2-0s over in Europe, but we're actually going to have a full 2-1 here. But whether it goes to Cloud9 or Tribe, we'll have to wait and see. These two teams seem very evenly matched based on today's results, and I'm excited to see how this continues to pan out. Now, I want to start to talk draft in this one. We've seen Reza twice in a row now. Is that a consistent pick that we're going to continue to see? Are we going to see the build change? We've already been talking about Dragon's Eye. What do you expect to see here, Zora?
I mean, we do expect the pick to be very consistent throughout North America, just because this is a very strong pick that multiple teams have been playing. The build could vary. I actually disagree with Tasty and Dowsy. I think the Dragon's Eye works really well on this hero and on Blackfeather. For junglers, it replaces the old Broken Myth very well. The only thing is, they have to pick up a Broken Myth later on in the game to have that piercing so that they can shred with their damage through the defense. Reza didn't do it last game, and that could have been a factor. Going into this draft, though, Lyra banned already taken away from Tribe after they played it twice in a row.
Yeah, and it's going to then be that Petal first picked once again. All 3 games, Petal is coming through for these 2 squads. They are still really, really big on this weapon Petal pick. and why not? It has won both games thus far in this series, so still a very strong pick. A 60% win rate going to be going up just a little bit further. But
Finally.
There's the Saw coming through without getting banned and the Rhyme taken off the board. But this is something we're going to have to watch, is this Saw pickup. This is a hero we haven't seen in a very, very long time. Was one of the only heroes not picked for such a long time in the previous season. Finally makes his appearance.
Before I talk about the Saw, I want to touch on the Petal. The strategy from C9 usually is to first pick the Vox for old school. That's his comfort pick and one of the strongest picks also. They're changing it up for the Petal. Even though he's not as confident on it, it works better. Why? Because these games are going fairly long, and Petal outscales Vox. She scales better because she has more damage once. She overdrives her trampoline. So an adaptation in the draft for C9, especially after it worked for them in the second game. The Saw pick coming out for Tribe. In my opinion, this can go either weapon power or CP. Most likely we'll see it weapon power, especially if combined with a strong early game jungler such as the CP Kestrel that can also siege a lot. But Tribe and T-Tigers, they haven't played Kestrel in a long time.
Well, you asked if we were going to continue to see Reza. We are not going to see Reza this game as Cloud9 take him off the board, forcing T-Tigers onto something else. He played the Reza twice in a row, so obviously it's a pick he's extremely comfortable on, and Cloud9 do not want to let him get his hands on that once again. So Arden is the pickup here. Again, I feel like Arden is one of, if not the strongest captains on this update, just because of his massive amount of durability. 30% bonus health ratio on the Vanguard. You just build a ton of health items, and you're able to not only be incredibly durable yourself, but also protect your teammates incredibly well. And we've seen throughout all of Vainglory's history how important a well-placed gauntlet is to turning the tides of a fight.
Now, I want to talk a little bit more about this Saw, because you guys, clearly everyone's very excited about this pick, right?
Oh, just kidding. We're going to turn and focus on Churnwalker.
All right, we have the Churnwalker pick. Cloud9's going to play it. I've been harassing Physics all day trying to persuade her to get a team to pick it up. It is going to come on through right here for Cloud9. Talk to me about this pick, guys. How is this going to work out?
It's very strong against Saw, specifically just because he's immobile and he can land your hook and chains fairly easily if he's not using his shank to move around. The Vox end up coming also for C9 to put the Petal into the CP jungle. But talking more about Churnwalker, he's a very strong early game hero. He can clear fast, can invade. His team fighting very strong. A lot of CC and a lot of damage amplification. So Vox and Petal are focusing Saw, let's say, and then at the same time he has Arden and the other hero chained, the Churnwalker. That's the damage going through on all heroes.
There's also the fact of, what did we talk about was a situation required for Churnwalker to come through, not having very strong backline dive. You know who's really bad at diving a backline? Saw. This is a great situation for them to pick up this Churnwalker, being able to keep Saw at bay. If Churnwalker gets behind the Saw needs to be close enough to basic attack. If Churnwalker pulls him away from his teammates, Saw is so slow, he's not going to be able to get back into range. So this pick could actually be absolutely monumental here. And what a game.
Yeah.
Game 3, we have a Saw and a Churnwalker. This is amazing.
I want to ask you guys quickly, before we get in the game, I want some predictions for this one, because this is going to be a crazy game. Are we going for the Churnwalker? Are we going for the Saw? Where do we lie here?
I want to go for the Churnwalker just because he's on Gay Vizzle. At the same time, though, Son is going to be able to apply a lot of pressure. And if C9 don't hold off early game, they can fall really far behind.
I think this is going to go to the Churnwalker here. I think it's just with Saw and Koshka, I don't think they have the ability to eliminate these targets before the chains get put on everyone. I think it's going to be a really impressive showing.
All right, well, we've got a Cloud9 desk right here. I'm torn between the Churnwalker and the Saw. I've been waiting for the Churnwalker all day, though, so I'm excited to get on into this one. Let us know who you are supporting on Twitter. Use that hashtag Vainglory8. Tell your brothers and sisters, tell your friends, tell your mum if you have to. Get everybody involved, because we have our first competitive Churnwalker heading onto the fold. I cannot wait to see how Cloud9 are going to be able to pull this one out of the bag. It's about time to jump on into game number 3 of this series. It's time once again to pass it over to Dowsy and the Source and kick off game number 3 of split number 2.
Hey, Mum! Look, I'm casting North America! It's Dowsy! It's the Source! It's game 3! It's cringe all around, and it's time to see who can take this one home. It's been an exciting match, But look at that! Mr. Churnwalker has joined us on the Halcyon Fold source. I think this is what everyone has been waiting for.
Ask Gabe Vizzle to play it in Game 1 and you shall be rewarded. I'm super excited for Churnwalker. I think he has massive high play potential. I think that there are great opportunities to just see him make massive plays. And we're already getting to see what he can do with the jungle. I already think his jungle clearing is a little terrifying. I think it cranks up the speed of... It's fast. It's so fast. And now he's going to go sit in the lane and be a nuisance? Wait, Gabe Vizzle. No, help the team, Gabe Vizzle, please.
It does mean that Joseph is getting the experience and the gold from the ambient, which will get the Petal up to level 2. This is Petal versus Sora as well. There's so many things to talk about here. And Churnwalker. So, let's talk about Churnwalker to begin with. Heroic perk, Frutility of Life. Through those hook and chains, he can cause his enemies to share damage when one of them gets attacked and they're both chained up. It also heals him for the damage dealt by his opponents and does damage over time. So very strong passive right there, and Gabe Vizzle then can use his B Torment to pull someone back essentially, and then his ultimate Trespass will stun anyone who is hooked on up, and also remove the hook and chain from his opponent, so you have to stack them back up. So it's very interesting to see how this works. From what I've been told by physics, it's very good into dive compositions apparently. And so it allows you to hook everyone up nice and quickly, stun them up, and then, you know, pull them around. But we do see an invade coming out of T-Tigers. Should talk about it. Joseph is struggling a little bit. T-Tigers, quite possibly the best Koshka ever. Maybe Vonsi would argue that he is the best Koshka. But T-Tigers definitely very good. And right now, Joseph is too scared to even contest his jungle. T-Tigers looking to just try and steal away this Treant away. Secures it. Now he just pounces out. Nothing feared. In fact, he's going to go back in. Oh dear. Joseph, are you okay there? You don't look very okay, my friend. Celsia tries to find the kill with the Blood for Blood, but Joseph just about survives.
So there's definitely a massive amount of pressure all around the map for the side of Tribe. You've got pressure from the jungle coming out from T-Tigers, but we haven't talked about Zeo on this Saw. Saw is incredibly good at pushing, especially with how weak towers happen to get in 2.8. And I mean, we were talking about how strong Saw was in the draft and how we're excited to see him. It's going to be basically a full court press coming out from the side of Tribe. Pressure Cloud9 early before the Churnwalker really gets online once he gets tanky enough to survive these team fights. We saw Gabe Vizzle taking a lot of damage in that early portion of the laning phase where he was only level 1. Positioning is going to be very important for him, but once we get into those mid-game team fights in the jungle, I hope to see Gabe Vizzle really, you know, let Churnwalker shine.
We'll have to find out exactly how he does so. Guess the one thing that Gabe Vizzle can do is put Dienzio in a compromising position with that hook and chain and the Torment. Of course, that combination pulls him in. Here comes the engage, but T-Tigers is here as well. Hooks have been put onto 2. You can kind of see the damage being dealt back and forth via that blow. Churnwalker, a very fun hero to watch, and Dienzio constantly being pulled into Old School. But at this moment, I think Old School has the damage to deal. Look at that! Saw's just ripping through him! Suppressing fire does miss. Gets pulled under turret! Gabe Vizzle pulls him under turret, and Old School will find the first blood. Oh, that was a mistake from Dienzio.
Yeah, it looked good for Dienzio for a little while. The idea of stepping forward anytime you get hooked to just continue to dish out your damage, not let them control where you are positioned. I liked that idea. I liked that he was willing to play aggressive, step up into Old School, and kind of fire the damage back even though Gabe Vizzle had already landed the chain. We saw a little bit of what happens when 3 chains landed. Gabe Vizzle was surviving, but I Love Joseph was forced to back, and you know, I think that made Zeo a little overconfident in stepping up and getting pulled under the turret. And it's not a massive pull. This isn't like a forced accord, but it does just change positioning enough to start to become a nuisance, especially to somebody like a Saw.
I'm getting excited at the moment. I hope everyone else is as well. Tribe, they have fallen to the first blood of Cloud9, but they haven't fallen too far behind. In fact, they maintain a gold lead at this point, and it's all down to T-Tigers' ability to continuously pressure the jungle. Now has an Aftershock ready to go. Going to be a lot of burst potential ready to be outputted onto a singular target. Minion Candy being played out by Gabe Vizzle. Missing his hook and chain, that's a huge cooldown. You miss it. When you hit it, you get it very short. When you miss it, it's devastating. Look at that old school under turret just losing his life as we speak. The fountain was popped very quickly by Gabe Vizzle to make sure that his captain can try and survive. Tribe with a very dangerous siege via this Saw, via this Koshka. There's so much damage that can be outputted very quickly. Being that Cloud9 are respecting it. It's once more T-Tigers dives on in, but Joseph, look at the spontaneous combustions. Almost finding kills, but not quite. Mad Cannon's been popped. Tigers jumps in and will find the kill onto Old School. Cloud9 currently not successfully able to dissuade Tribe from this siege. They are continuously looking to push on in onto this turret, and with a Saw, this turret goes down very quickly. Joseph tries to heal himself up with a spontaneous combustion, force Tigers back, but that's the turret gone. Just like that, Cloud9 lose their first.
And I want to highlight how masterfully played that was from Tribe. T-Tigers held the Yummy Catnip Frenzy that entire time. There was always that threat. And every time he'd dive under towers, something was used to try and get Old School out of trouble. Once was the fountain. He also used his reflex block. Like, they kind of pulled resources very slowly out of Cloud9, while DNZO was just continuously poking and poking and poking. And that was an interesting timing point for them to do that on, because that was when T-Tigers had the ultimate ready, and the other members of Cloud9 didn't have level 6. That wasn't online. Game Vizzle still doesn't have level 6. The level 6 from Petal isn't gonna be that massive in terms of a team fight unless it's extended. Old School didn't have the weight for it, so it was just this great pressure moment from Tribe to be able to, you know, force Cloud9 to sit there and deal with them, but not allow Cloud9 to be able to counter engage.
Right now, Tribe hard pushing the lane. Gabe Vizzle's looking to try and set up his hook and chains onto the entirety of the team, share the damage. Enzio taking a lot of damage. He might get bursted. Fountain comes out. Trespass stuns up T-Tigers, but Enzio on the back line, he's just doing it all. Old School will find the kill. T-Tigers will find the returner. It's a double kill all around, a double-double almost. There's now just supportal combat. Celsius and Gabe Vizzle beating each other up. This fight may go on for a little bit.
Gabe Vizzle does
looks
not
like
win
Gabe
this.
Vizzle might actually be losing it. That's a surprising aspect.
Yeah, Churnwalker, he actually can't 1v1 at all. You will lose pretty much every 1v1, especially something like an Arden. Because you actually... So it's interesting. Churnwalker doesn't actually do damage. You see him trying to do damage. Like, he
has no CP ratios, no weapon power ratios.
But he's got CP ratios at 1%. So,
oh, that's true?
Yeah, they're there. They're there. They're actually there. But it means that you are only as strong as your team. So for a team like Cloud9, great teamwork, great coordination. This is, you know, could be a great optimal pick for them. But there are a couple of minor things you have to think about. One, when he's in that fight with Zelsier, he's not actually going to be able to dish out that much damage. If he's running away, if minions are hitting Zelsier, then yes, Churnwalker is going to be able to sustain that back up. If you get later in the game and he's doing damage to, say, a squishy carry, and that carry is already very low, maybe he can hunt them down and maybe finish them off. But he's not going to win a 1v1 duel for a long period of time. He also doesn't do any damage to Kraken. Either on offense or defense, you can't actually hook the Kraken. So you can't hook Kraken, you can't pull Kraken, you can't stun Kraken. Your entire kit is literally useless up against that objective. So you are, again, only as strong as the collective of your team. We saw a little bit of that damage in that fight of what happens when those triple chains were there, when everybody was linked up. If I Love Joseph had survived a little bit longer or was a little bit further ahead in that build, I think we see DNCO get bursted down faster. Old School wasn't actually hitting him, so wasn't getting off that mortal wound. So there were a couple things not going perfect for Cloud9, but we're starting to see the potential of this Churnwalker.
Ooh, wow, look at the damage coming out. Torment goes out. Dienzio gets deleted. The Trespass stunning him up, and now Gabe Vizzle's just walking his Arden. Gonna switch it on over to T-Tigers as Zelsia will fall down. It is going to be Cloud9 finding themselves a first team fight win here. That damage being outputted via the hook and change, the Fertility of Life heroic perk is just massive.
Yeah, and that's actually starting to get really terrifying because you've actually got pretty high amounts of initial damage coming out from Cloud9. You've got good sustained damage coming out from Cloud9. If every single target is chained and you're dumping that damage into Dienzio, yes, he is you know, the Saw, he doesn't have that lifesteal, so he can't really sit there and sustain. So you're gonna be able to bring him down eventually, but that damage is transferring. And normally Saws, they want to stand and fight. You know, they're comfortable sitting there and dealing with you. But once chains start to land from Gabe Vizzle, you have to start thinking about the fact that this is one of the few heroes, if I think the only hero in the game, that once a very short cooldown ability, now that it's overdriven, it has that increased range. That cooldown is about 3 seconds, 0 if he lands it. Once a low cooldown skill lands, you actually have to be very careful about how willing you are to take engagements. The longer you stay, the more dangerous it gets.
Certainly, you can see that Tribe are falling backwards. That's going to be a stun onto the Arden. Tigers falling down. Dienzio trying to output the damage onto Old School. He is going to find the kill. Joseph jumps away, but he will fall down as well. And it's only Gabe Vizzle left alive. The poor Churnwalker just roaming the map. Knows that his time is done. The ace will come through for Tribe as they are now have the opportunity to push down and get their 2-2 turret.
And Tigers manages to exploit, you know, what is the falling off of Churnwalker. You get far enough away from him, and he will no longer have those chains. That damage won't finish through. I think the side of Cloud9 thought that they were about to finish Tigers due to that extra chain damage. The damage was coming through onto other targets. They had him chained up, but he managed to break it at pretty much the last second and then get hit with a fountain. They then re-engage the fight and start to come ahead. So, you know, we're starting to see where maybe Gabe Vizzle has to think a little bit more about his positioning. He was sticking to the team, but he actually hadn't landed the additional hook onto Dienzio. Had he done that, possibly damage comes through, falls along that chain, and finishes off Tigers. So one hook could become, you know, one hook could save you, could save the entire team. One hook could be the difference between a one-team fight and a lost-team fight.
Echo for Gabe Vizzle. Wow, that's an exciting possibility. I assume you Echo Trespass, the ultimate for Churnwalker, and then re-hook everyone up and get that second stun up. It does break up the hook and chains. You can't just stun and then stun immediately again. Perhaps you can go for a double pullback with the Torment. Gonna be very we have to keep our eyes basically on Gabe Vizzle and see how he does use that Echo.
I think it works. Chains projectile speed is high. Once you use the trespass and it breaks all of the chains, it's actually very quick to be able to get them back up, especially if you've pulled them in and grouped them, because then you just fire the chain 3 times in the same direction. You're likely to hit 2 of your 3 targets, and again, that's, you know, pretty fast projectile speed with 0 cooldown. That's how fast you can tap your screen to be able to make that happen.
Well, here we go. Fight does break out. Gabe Vizzle blocks up the Yummy Camping Frenzy. Whoa, that's a stun and a half. There's the second coming on through. They do lose Joseph, but it just doesn't matter. Gabe Vizzle looking so flashy with this Churnwalker right now. Tigers wants to steal away this gold miner. Hook does miss, but the flare will reveal the kitty cat. Will push him back as well. Gold miner should be secured here by Cloud9. They're going to get that gold immense up to even thereabouts now. 29.4 versus 30,000. It's very close indeed. Joseph finishing a Broken Myth. Very important item. Meraki Zoro mentioned how important it was, but on 2.9 it's just so good. You know, maybe in the past you didn't build Broken Myth for the piercing source, you bought it for the percentage of crease on damage items, but here on 2.9 it is all about the piercing. 30% pierce is huge.
Yeah, that's a lot of initial damage, and that is going to be transferring across the chains for Churnwalker. And in that fight, we saw very quick 3 chains, instant stun, very quick 2 chains. Like it happens very, very fast, and he's already gotten 2.
Ooh,
misses the third.
Got 2. There it is. Stun comes out, loses a bit of his HP, has to Fountain to survive. Chains going back out, Fountain comes out, Tigers going on in, stun blocked up by Zelsia, but everyone's so low, Tigers is dead, Dienzio's all about dead. It is a 1-for-1 trade, but currently Cloud9 progressing forward, perhaps deciding that it's too risky into the Saw and will back off. These fights have been so explosive.
Yeah, because there's just so much more damage flying through from the side of Cloud9. You'd think this is a Vox, this is a Petal. Yes, there's good damage over time. Yes, there's the initial damage that comes out of I Love Joseph, but you don't really think about that in terms of something like Tigers, Koshka, and that just instant burst. Those chains are really setting that up. And I said right before that fight started, 3rd chain missed. that could have turned the fight. If that actually had happened, that stun lands on the Enzio, or at least forces out the reflex block, and just the damage would have been transferring through. So, you know, very quickly, Tribe is adapting to how they need to play up against this Churnwalker a bit. They realized once that third chain missed, they could actually take that fight on, you know, reasonably even ground. Maybe some lifesteal from the Enzio might actually turn some of these fights to them, because the Enzio is fighting at such low health, you know, waiting for Zelsier to actually use that fountain at like these last possible moments. He's playing things on a knife's edge, so he's gone with this full crit build. I hope it ends up working out for him because of how, you know, how fast we can see a saw just rip through the members of Cloud9.
Yeah, it's very true. No Serpent's Mask means no sustain. Right now it's okay. Gabe Bizzle trying to set up the fight. There's the stun going out on to Old School. He's in trouble. That's Joseph just deleted. And oh dear, Old School's going to go down as well. Tribe set up the perfect setup for a fight. Cloud9 go for a risky attempt at, you know, stealing away the Kraken. It just didn't work at all. We're going to need a replay to see exactly how Tribe was able to turn that around. Was it misplay? Was it just great outplay? Either way, it's a Kraken for Tribe.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that actually came off of Gabe Bizzle's flank. Saw where the Enzio was positioned. He had full space to poke Gabe Bizzle the moment he saw him. You know, he laid a couple of shots into him. He was already spun up from hitting the Kraken. There was damage to be dealt. And then we see the members of Cloud9 kind of try and dive in, try and set that play up. The chains didn't actually connect for Gabe Bizzle. I think Cloud9, just the way this composition works, group up, move forward. Because we've seen what happens every time Tribe tries to hard engage on you when you're grouped. Gabe Bizzle lands the hooks, Old School gets the silence. That gives Gabe Bizzle more time to land more hooks, and you transfer the damage across that passive. If you come in for this flank, you better land pretty much every single play, and I don't think it's worth taking the risk when we've seen how much damage they're able to actually output.
Now I have a broken myth for T-Tigers. It's a pretty important setup. Triple chain is there. Gabe Bizzle, does he want to go in? Stun comes out. The silence, in fact, sorry. Now it is going to be Torment stunning up to Gabe Bizzle to put those hooks back on out, looking for effect and stun. It's going to find one, but they've lost their carry, and Joseph will fall down as well. It's only Gabe Bizzle left alive. Churnwalker, no, he's going to go down. And Ace comes through for Tribe. The Kraken taking the Vein Crystal turrets, and Tribe will take the victory here over Cloud9 2-1.
Maybe it was too certain for the Churnwalker. Maybe we asked for it and it wasn't ready. It was still being, you know, completely figured out by the side of Cloud9. But I love the attempt, and we get to see Tribe moving on in this week of VGA.
Yeah, Cloud9 will fall here. And that is the first time, I believe, that her team has taken down Cloud9 on week 1 of the autumn season. This is a huge moment for the rest of North America as they fight for that top spot to head to Worlds. The #1 team has dropped. What can the rest of the teams do about it is the question. Tribe certainly want to make a case for themselves. And they've done so here on day 1. Let's throw it back to the desk to break down Tribe's win.
Thank you very much, guys. What a game coming out from Tribe in the end. Unfortunately, Churnwalker, 0% win ratio in competitive play. Clearly, just not up to scratch. Unfortunately, not going to be able to take that one. Tribe do take the victory in the end, and Cloud9 getting knocked out in the quarterfinals here.
Yeah, and this is, Dowsy said, the implications it has on the rest of the league. This is terrible news for the rest of the league. Everyone wants Cloud9 to keep winning because it keeps everyone else down. Now Tribe, all of a sudden, they're added into this mix of teams that have the potential to be going for that world spot. And this is huge for Tribe, but everyone else was really